Welcome back to the next episode of the eCom Growth Show. I am your host, Dane Coleman, founder of eCom Triage, co-founder of Catalog Defender, and I have a friend, partner, neighbor even, and his name's Eric Young. He's been doing e-commerce for a long time. We're going to talk about what he excels at and what he's up to today. Eric, thanks for being on the show, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Absolutely. So I want to get started with who you are and what has led you to what you're doing today. So let's start right here with how long have you been doing ecom and what are you up to these days? And actually, let's go with how'd you get started, how long you've been doing it, and what are you into now? It's kind of three questions.
Three-prong attack. I like that. So how did they get started? So I am a nerd. I started building computers, fixing computers, network administrator. Did that for about 10 years. Then I got into web development, and I was doing that till about 2015. And somebody bought this course called ASM4,
Yeah.
and they said, "I think we need a techie. We need somebody who's a nerd. It's on the internet, yada yada." It didn't turn out that any of those skills were actually needed. However, it did turn out that my ability to problem solve and work through analytics did start to shine, and it did seem like uh, I had a knack for it. So that started to take off. That's kind of where it started. My background was web design, being a computer nerd, and then that led to being a partner in a project, starting with ASM4, and we started our own brand in 2016, I believe.
Cool. And how did that brand go and what are you doing now?
Well, how did it go? So I always say this, and being that it's been so long, I feel like I can say it now. Is I feel that if I didn't do that course, I would have never started on Amazon.
Mhm.
However, if I would have stuck to that course, I would have never had success on Amazon. I don't know how else to say that. It's a very unique concept. It taught me the tricks and the tools, and it introduced me to the people in the space. But if it wasn't for the networking and going to those masterminds, I never would have got off the ground. I remember going to a mastermind and someone said, "Did you launch the product?" And I said, "What is a launch?" And that was just hilarious. After that, we did a viral launch. We started to get 10 sales a day. And we borrowed some money. I think we borrowed like 15,000. We went from 1 to 3 products. Next thing you know, we started to get this idea that we could sell anything. It kind of happens when you start to get a little bit of momentum on Amazon. And the next thing you know, we crowdfunded about $90,000. We expanded our catalog to 18 products, and within, I would say, 18 months, we were a 7-figure brand, and that was what an amazing ride.
Mhm. Yeah, amazing. And so that was 2016. We are in 2025, so we're just shy, almost in 2026. We're just shy of a decade here. So I have to ask the question, what changes have you seen since you got started?
The answer is
Endless?
so much, so much. It's constantly changing, and you could ask me how it changed this month, and I could give you a paragraph. But I will say that
Absolutely.
when we started, it was the wild wild west. There was all
Sure.
kinds of links, tricks with links. There was 2-step URLs. You could use. You could get reviews for $1, viral launch. There were so many different tricks. Everything was a trick, and you could pretty much sell anything. And there were still opportunities at this time. It wasn't very common, but there was still an opportunity to be the first to sell a product on Amazon. And every day it gets less. I will say today, if you see a product that's not being sold, it's probably because nobody wants it. It's not because nobody tried. So, but back then, you could be the first in some categories. Trends would pop up overnight, and then 100 of the top sellers would be there the next day. That was pretty wild. But if you go back to like 2008, you could have been the first person to sell toilet paper, and that's how crazy it has been. You could get reviews for $1. Amazon decided to create, basically say you could incentivize them. Next thing you know, they removed all your reviews. Then they launched Amazon Basics, and every year the platform gets more sophisticated, more competitive. But still, the one thing that hasn't changed in the last 10 years is that Amazon still makes up with most brands 70 to 95% of the revenue, and it is still the place to be as of today.
I couldn't agree more. I harp on and gripe about Amazon to eh, just endlessly, but I fully agree with you. It's still the place to be. There's no better location on the internet to launch a product, to get started in selling an ecom. Is it a pain in the ass? Oh, yeah. Amazon is it's not personal, okay? They don't care about you in the first place, but it's the easiest place. The traffic's already there, and you just need to learn how to get started, and that's not too complicated anymore. I'm gonna say there are 10,000 videos on YouTube that'll help you get started. The only advice I'm gonna give you on that is look at when that video was made. And then you said it earlier, community. Community is extraordinarily important. And there are thousands upon thousands of communities out there. I mean, I'm in a Discord community. There's like 40,000 members in there, something like that. You've got the Amazon, even the Amazon chat area where you can ask questions and get support from other members. And Amazon actually does watch that area. But yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Amazon is still the place to be, and it's ever evolving. And so the days of when I got started, even the days when you got started, um, those are gone. You need to treat this as a legitimate business, and you need to be putting regular effort into ensuring that you're expanding. Because eventually, if you're not expanding, and I have many years of experience and statistics to show this, that if you're not putting life into your business, it's going to die. It's like a plant, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. One thing you touched on that I think is a funny anecdote about where we were to where we are today. So back in 2016 and 17, when people talked about Amazon, it was shh. It was everything was a
Right.
secret. Everything was hush
Yes.
hush. The
Yeah.
the communities were few and far between, and it was a very hush hush thing.
Yeah. So what
Now,
do you sell? Oh, I'm in the community. I'm in the Amazon space. That's
yeah,
what you
no
would get.
nobody,
I'm in
yeah,
outdoors.
nobody wanted to tell you their product, like as if you were going to immediately resell that product in some way or fashion or steal what they were
Well,
doing.
to be fair, it happened an awful lot in those days. It was really easy for you to go to China and white label it and basically take product placement. It had happened a lot.
True, true. However, I feel that the difference, the one thing that changed was the community building. So there was a point where it was very hush hush to how can we network more? How can we monetize it? And if you fast forward, you've got the Inner Circle, MDS, you got Titan, you have all these groups that have put together good training and education, but then they put the community where you still have the ability to communicate one on one and get the tips and tricks. And the tips and tricks are what going to differentiate you in today's world.
Yeah, agreed. There's there are some great communities out there, and some of them are absolutely massive. I personally am a fan of smaller communities, more along the lines of masterminds, where you've got 10, 12, 20 people in there. Um, that's just my own personal preference. I find it to be a lot easier to share all of your data with a trusted 10 people or something like that. Um, and you can see phenomenal results learning from your peers. And but yeah, that's just me. There's also no question about it. There's great value in having large communities of people, because when they put on events like MDS, Titan, and Inner Circle does, well, you get a lot of people there, and you can find and make relationships that, I mean, there have been people that have become millionaires just because they both showed up at the same event, and they were like, "Hey, I've got this idea. Hey, I've got this money, hey, let's get together." And then they just went to the stars. So, there's great value in events, communities, and building your own network, right?
Absolutely, and a lot of times those big groups are essentially an accumulation of a lot of little masterminds. Because as you network, you find the people that you connect with, and maybe you don't share it on a broader scale, but those 3 or 4 people that you connect with, that you put your laptops together, and one person kind of breaks bread on something that's working with them, and everything is the way that I see how trends kind of typically work is that it depends on when you found out about the trend is how effective it is. So if you are early, it works great, and if you're at the end, it typically does not have a lot of result. And the tricks and changes happen that fast.
Yeah, they really do. And Amazon, by the way, they don't tell you about them. They just drop them. Or maybe they're testing something because Amazon's always testing. And so when you have access to hundreds or thousands of accounts like we do, you start to see these little trends where, oh, over here, do you remember when Amazon tested the displaying only a single star on? Yeah, that was an epic failure. I could have told them that was gonna happen, but they tested it, and so you saw on certain accounts, rather than displaying 4.5 stars, they just displayed a single star, and in order to see the star rating, you had to roll over it. That was an epic failure, and it didn't happen on every account, it happened only on I think they roll it out to certain servers or something like that, but yeah. Okay, so that answers where you've been and what you've seen. Where are you now? What are you doing in the Amazon space or ecom space?
Interesting. So I'm gonna back up a little bit to answer that question, and it's gonna be another change about what it used to be to what it is today. Back
Okay.
in 2017, Amazon was growing so fast that you could still grow organically and still get a lot of the market share. It wasn't as competitive. There's still a lot of new customers coming, but after COVID, which was the probably the biggest craze and spike in Amazon history. I believe I heard a number. I believe that it had grown the same as it did in the previous 10 years combined in 1 year.
Whoa.
And that
I didn't know that.
that is incredible. And that brought in all of the customers and pretty much filled all of the growth that was probably going to happen over the next 10 years in kind of 1 year. And that
Yeah.
and that was incredible. So now if you fast forward to today, how do you compete? Well, you are converting on a percentage of the search volume. And how do you get ahead is actually more complex and more demanding than just doing Amazon. It is becoming a
Mm.
more um, kind of how can I put it? You kind of need to be everywhere. It's becoming an omnichannel approach. You need to be doing top of funnel on Meta. You need to be on doing Google Ads. You need to be on TikTok. And so, speaking of TikTok, a year and a half ago when we went to Prosper, one thing that we do is we listen to what people are talking about so that we can pivot and listen to what is trending, so we can catch a trend early. Because essentially, what is luck in the e-commerce space is catching a trend early. And so
Mhm.
whether you're a service provider, whether you're trying to sell a product, catching a trend early is basically how success is made and what they call luck. And so we heard people talking about TikTok. It was hard not to when they had that massive booth in the middle of the auditorium. And so we started talking with that. We met with them, and my CEO told me, he said, "You know what? It's time to learn TikTok." And so I took it upon myself to dive in. And you fast forward, I think that was a little over a year ago, and as of today, we are now generating over 1 million a month on TikTok with the accounts that I work with. I'm a
Wow.
TikTok expert. And it is a wild ride, and it's exciting. It reminds me of Amazon in the old days.
Cool. And now Amazon has partnered up with TikTok so you can actually fulfill through Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, yeah?
There's a lot of conversation and hype. There's a lot of interesting things going on. I've even seen an article talking about where Amazon put in a bid to buy TikTok, which I don't even think that monopoly laws are actually enforced anymore. But that would be a monopoly of monopolies. But
Yeah.
as of today, most of the fulfillment we recommend is FBT, fulfilled by TikTok, which is a
Okay.
similar to FBA. Regular TikTok would be similar to FBM, and it's working quite well. TikTok is having the same growth as Amazon did back in the early days, and that's what makes it exciting platform is because it's growing with you. And when that happens, you can continue to gain market share. You can get there early. You can have massive growth and spikes. And so TikTok is it's a wild place. It takes one video. Next thing you know, you got 100 million views. And what happens is the halo effect, the spillover, because a lot of
Yeah.
people, all they think about is getting one sale, getting a conversion. They want to spend $3. They want to get $9 back. All they care about is their ROI. What am I going to get for this? But you have to realize that when you sell a product, people don't know that you exist. And so, top of funnel, the purpose is to let people know you solve a problem and it's something that works for them, and let them know that you exist. And in doing so, they will then go down the funnel and they'll start to maybe do some research, maybe look into some reviews, maybe research the type of product you're selling and see if that actually solves or works for them. And in doing so, eventually they arrive on Amazon, which is bottom of funnel. And that's kind of what Amazon has become. Instead of becoming this the gold rush, it's become the bottom of funnel. You still have to play that game. It still makes up a lot of the market share, but the ones that are killing it today are also killing it on TikTok.
Cool. You said something a little earlier, talking about being everywhere, and it kind of just dawned on me as you were saying that, that e-commerce today is what SEO was 15 years ago. If you want to be found, let's take local search marketing. That was what I used to do before I got into Amazon 15 years ago. Um, if you wanted to be found on Google Maps or on Google, which is where the majority of people search for, say, restaurants, I would put a business, I would list them on 50 different places that all had business listings. They were business listing platforms. Think Angie's List, Craigslist, um, Facebook, Instagram, all those places, as well as a whole bunch of unique places, even city-based places like clearwater.com and stuff like that. And so I would put this business in 50 different places. I would ensure that all of the messaging was exactly the same across every platform, that the hours were correct, that the email was the same, and that the phone number was accurate, and everything there. And I had keywords properly placed and well-written content and stuff like that. There was not a single client that I didn't get in the top, at minimum, the top three, but usually the top one search spot for their primary keywords because of this. And we are now in a space in e-commerce where it's the same. If you want to be found, you can't just be on Amazon. You need to be on Walmart. You need to have Shopify. You need to be on TikTok. You need to be on Shine, Temu, whatever. You know, you basically need to be where people are looking for your thing, whatever that thing is. So I think that we have come to a point in ecom where, you and I and others have been saying it for years. You need to diversify your where you're selling, and I firmly believe that today, now more than ever, it's got to be done. You need to, if you want to capture more of where your audience is, you need to be in more places where they are.
100%. 100%. And marketplaces are coming up every day. I hear of
Yeah.
something new, something exciting, and a lot of them have kind of some appealing thing about them, something that they're doing differently. There's competitors for TikTok. There is services like Levanta, which is like an off of TikTok, and there's so many different services that are popping up every night. And and I believe that that has a lot to do with the advent of commercial AI as being the fastest growing technology in history. I feel that it's only going to get faster from this point, and it's
Mhm.
only going to get crazier. But again, what does crazier, what does faster mean? It means that you need to market everywhere, and you need to market competitively, and you need to be consistent, and you need to be on every place that your customer is. So if you're selling herbal supplements, uh, you want to make sure that your product is where people buy those products. Where do people go and research information about those products? And so that would probably there's probably marketplaces that are specific to supplements. There's probably different categories or spaces, and you really want to do your due diligence, I would recommend a little hack if you're not doing it already. Just ask ChatGPT. Just use take advantage of AI and find out where your product should be listed to give you the best opportunity and the most eyeballs, the most visibility.
Well said. And then outside of that, there's more marketplaces in terms of outside of the country that you're selling in too. So, um, this kind of lends well into my next question for you, which is where do you see things going for the ecom space? What's your prediction on where we're gonna go?
Well, I'm gonna back up to go forward again. And so back in early Amazon, we had Amazon US, and then next thing you know, you had Amazon UK and then EU, and they've pretty much taken over the world. And so now a guy in his pajamas with a Wi-Fi connection can actually build a global brand. This
True.
is unheard of.
Yep.
This never could happen, and we help people do this all the time. Now there is a little bit of understanding to do about how the regulatory information regarding your labels per marketplace, as well as how do you need to have your LLC and all this stuff. But today you have ChatGPT. Back when we were doing it, you would read forums and terrible news articles, and today is the best opportunity to almost do anything. You just have to have a little bit of uh a little bit of gusto, a little bit of intelligence, and you have to have, I like to say, a little bit more balls than brains, and be willing to take a chance. And
You
so,
know, that's
yeah,
quite true. And my observation of and I've done a casual study of many very successful people. It's not about being a genius. It's more so about being tenacious and pushing forward toward that goal more than ever. At least that's my assessment. So,
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, luckily for me, well, I'm neither of those things. Just kidding. Um, one last little thing before we end off. This has been I think this has been really really good. And I'd actually like to have you on the show again at a future date. Certainly not this year. Done talking to you this year on the podcast, but you have your own podcast, don't you?
I do. So, you know what? There's a little bit of gaps in there, so I'll go ahead and fill in a few things. So, after the brand, we exited in 2020. I started working with an agency. I started working with a friend of mine named Ian Page. He founded a company called Bullseye Sellers. We started with one brand. I was the first team lead, and since then we've gone on to where there's now 5 team leads, and we've managed hundreds of brands, and still do to this time, and been growing year over year exponentially, and it's been an amazing partnership and an amazing thing to be a part of, and that is something exciting that I like to do, and I still do today. We manage many Amazon brands and many TikTok brands, and we've helped them generate millions of dollars year over year. And the biggest thing that I enjoy to do is to take a brand from zero to 100,000, 300,000 a month. This is what I pride myself in. That's the joy of what I do. And so in doing this, I had the idea. I wanted to give back. I wanted a place where I could share information. I could interview people in the industry. And so I created a podcast called eCom Marketing Lab. So I'm a big fan of it. I have a lot of friends on it, including you. You've been a guest multiple times. And the idea is, if you have a service, which you do, that helps people solve a problem, again, by watching and paying attention to people that are working in the industry, you kind of learn the tricks. And your service is something that we onboard every Amazon client to. It's something that is not necessarily kind of optional. It's something that is mandatory. It's something that it's required, as I look at it as kind of like maintenance. And so, and I'm speaking of your review service, and that a lot of people speak very highly of it. It works really good. And so
Let's
I like to have,
clarify real quick. I
yeah,
don't get people 5-star reviews. I help sellers remove negative reviews that violate Amazon's terms of service. I just want to put that out there for the listeners. I am not one of those companies that goes and gets you 5-star reviews.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Yes, everything is white hat. Back in the day, we'd use AMZ Tracker. I finally remembered the name. We'd pay $1 for a
Oh, yeah.
review. Completely violates TOS, and I know many services that are like that. But speaking of that, that is not a slap on the wrist. That is an account suspension,
Yes, it
and it
is.
is a pain to overcome. And definitely don't recommend that. But I created a YouTube channel. I have a lot of great guests like yourself that have services, people that are experts in any in industry ecom related, usually TikTok, Amazon, even do some Meta here and there, but
Mhm.
trying to give back and trying to help people and kind of get people to think and kind of show some people some perspective. And sometimes there's a gem or two in there that might help you potentially take what you're doing and maybe get a little bit more conversion out of it, a little bit more traffic, a little bit more, add something to your strategy, trying to just give back a little bit.
Yeah, cool. I love it, man. Yeah. Well, good. Eric, thanks for being on my podcast. It was a long time coming, and I'm glad you're finally here. So thanks for coming, and I will see you on the next one, my friend. Oh, hey, if people need help, can they contact you, and how do they do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you my Calendly link to set up a free strategy call. Happy to help people. I'll give you my Bullseye link, and you can put that in the description. The other thing is also please put my description, my link to my podcast, and hopefully I can add value in your life in the ecom space.
Cool, man. Sounds good. Well, thanks for showing up. I'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
You bet.